Anthony, do you want to just turn off your mic for a second and make sure we can hear you?
Hey, good evening.
Perfect. Great. I think George is just working out some technical matters, but we should be okay soon. We can't hear you.
I can hear Anthony.
Great.
George, it's pretty funny. Right behind your head is the We Love Zumba poster.
In 2022 Town of Danvers Conservation Commission meeting. Before I call to order, let me just read the commission statement. We operate under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, and Chapter 26 of the Town of Danvers General Bylaw, called the Wetlands Protection Bylaw. So the way this works, after the applicant presents his or her request and the board has had time to ask questions and discuss the project, we will accept questions from the audience. Because this is a public meeting, it's required that you give your name and address first. Even though you may disagree on the issues raised, all persons are expected to be civil and respect each other's opportunity to speak. We request that you confine your questions to the project as it relates to the Wetlands Act. We can handle or have jurisdiction on things such as noise or traffic. And having said that, we'll get started with a call to order. So I'll take attendance. I'm covering for our chairman. Which one am I on here? This one? I'm going to start with our chairman, who is on Zoom. Roll call, starting with you, Peter.
Here.
Okay. Chelsea?
Here.
Ann?
Here.
Vanessa?
Here.
All right, and Michael Spillane, I'm here and as acting chairman. All right, let's start with the first matter on the agenda. And this is a notice of intent, 47 Collins Street, DEP file number 14-1375. The applicant is Old Salem Village Condominiums. And who is here for the applicant?
Will Scooter from the Moore and Cameron Group, representing the Old Salem Village condo.
Okay.
So, as you're aware, this project's been going on for a little
Been
bit.
on for a while.
Yep, and we have finally, we've been working with engineering basically just to satisfy some of the stormwater criteria that he's requested. So, the only changes to the plan since you've last seen them are gonna be the addition of a hydrodynamic separator in that area, and that's gonna be treating approximately 45% of the existing pavement. Currently, there's no treatment. All the catch basins out there are just for conveyance. So we're actually gonna be treating 45% of the existing pavement where there is previously none. And also, at the request of engineering, there's a damaged structure out there. So we're gonna fix that, and that's in that same vicinity. So it's just replacing the frame and grate on top of that. And those are the only changes, so I'll open it up if you guys have any questions.
Questions, starting with, I'll start with you, Chelsea.
I don't have any questions at the
All
moment.
right. Ann?
No, I was good with this, yeah.
Vanessa?
And just clarifying that the revised plans have been looked at by the town engineer?
I haven't sent the plans, but I've been in communication, and I've sent sketches before, but the actual physical plans, we're gonna be submitting the stormwater permit now, so he'll get a review of those, but with discussions, he was all set with all the proposed changes, and
Can you
Not the-
confirm that Steve King is all set?
Yeah, so Steve's okay. We don't have that in writing, but knowing
You have a verbal?
how much back and forth this has had, the final sign off is all
Yeah,
set.
they've been here a lot. so
Yeah,
it has
and then
been-
they will still, like he had mentioned, have to go through their permitting process.
Yep.
I'll say there's been a lot of scrutiny on this, so,
Yes.
yeah. Where's Peter?
I'm here.
Find the
Peter,
map.
do you have any questions?
Yeah, one quick one, or two quick ones, actually. Where is this, this replacement structure on the drawing that, was just mentioned?
I'll pull it back.
yeah, if you can pull it up, I can kind of point to it. All right, so the structure is 65 feet from the wetland edge, right? It's gonna be in line between the last structure and the outlet of the wetland. So we're treating as much as we can with that structure.
Right. Okay, and is there some work, the shaded areas of the pinkish reddish shaded area? Is that work within our 35 and 50-foot boundaries?
What shaded area? So all the shaded areas relate to existing pavement, whether it's full depth replacement on some of the details or there's call-outs, but there's no additional pavement, so all the work is just basically in the existing footprint of the paving.
Okay, but is any of that work within our 35 or 50-foot boundaries?
I believe there is some existing pavement and some, yes, there is. So that's just, most of it is gonna be milling and overlaying the existing pavement. There is some full
Right.
depth replacement.
And is a waiver required for that, Georgia? For those that work within the 35 and 50?
No, so I reviewed our first discussion, and there's no new permanent alteration proposed in the 35 and 50. And there's also the additional kind of blanket coverage that stormwater systems and engineering for stormwater is allowed within the 35 and 50. That is a provision we have in the bylaw.
Okay.
So a
And
waiver
then
would not be
their,
necessary.
Okay, good. And their erosion control is all up to snuff?
Yeah, as proposed in the plan, I believe they're proposing a combination of silt sock and silt fencing. Or was it just silt
It's
sock?
just silt sock, and there's some silt sacks in areas that we are doing the full depth where
Got it.
you'll
Yep.
have sediment potential.
Okay, and is this work imminent?
As in, yeah, all the pavement is starting to be in complete failure, so we're trying to get to it. And this might not all happen in 1 year. It might be a phase because it is a very big expense and a big paving project. But it is in disrepair, so they're trying to kind of upkeep it before they have to do more full depth replacement.
Okay, and I guess my question was, are they ready to start work like in the next 2 weeks, or is this just one step in the process?
So I don't know the exact funding process. I know that they're hoping to do a phase this year, Yeah, I just don't know the extent. I think it depends on the condo's trustees and the board and everybody over there, whether they can
Right.
afford it.
Okay, that's all I have to ask.
Yeah, just follow up. So this probably requires a vote of the condo association, the board,
Yeah.
one-time assessments and that whole process.
That was, yeah, part of
Oh.
the delay too, is you know, you gotta get approval for the additional work and everything
Yeah.
going back and forth, and
This diversion chamber you show,
Yep.
it's really big. Is this how they look?
so it's not that big. It's a 5-foot inside diameter
I saw that. I
structure.
read it.
That's just
I read
the
it, yeah.
the typical, that's a bigger system, but that's
Yeah,
just the
and
general.
there's criteria to size it anyway, right?
So, yep, so that's all sized based on the flow rate going into it. So we work with the contact, the proprietary company. We get the sizing from them for the water quality volume.
And
So-
how do you determine where to put it?
So we put it, basically, it's an inline structure, and we put it furthest downstream of that whole subcatchment. So all the water's going down, and it goes out to one invert, or one flared end. So we put it just upstream of that flared end, so we're treating as much as possible.
I think that's the only questions I had. So we're looking for this, there's no waivers required in this,
No.
all right? Does someone want to make a motion to issue an order of conditions for this project?
I'll make a motion to
Public
issue.
comment.
Oh. Does Peter want to do it?
Chelsea's doing it.
Okay.
Peter
do
was
we have
asking
any-
you have
if we
to
have
ask
public comment.
Oh, right, public comment.
Oh,
Open
is
the
there
hearing to public
anybody
comment.
online or?
There's no one online, and I'll just let Peter know there's no one in the audience.
There's no one in the audience, Peter.
Okay.
Well, he
Okay.
can't see, so I'll just let him.
The guy.
This gentleman.
I understand, the gentleman in the audience is here from, I can't assume that.
What are
you're
your
right.
thoughts on Old Salem Village?
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
go ahead.
Okay. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for 47 Collins Street, DEP file number 14-1375. Do we have any special things to
Well, I
add?
don't know,
or-
they're concerned, I mean, any phase that gets started, it wouldn't be left unattended until
Right.
the following, you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, correct. I
right.
mean, if you want to condition that we have a pre-construction meeting, if it is phased prior to the second phase,
Yeah,
that seems reasonable.
good.
Okay.
Make that a condition then?
I'll add a condition for a pre-construction
Pre-phase
meeting.
construction
Okay.
meetings.
And one other condition, if I could add, just the milling, the spoils from the milling should be removed from the site, you know, as quickly as possible.
Okay, so no stockpiling? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right, that's the motion? Is that the motion? Yeah? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Very good.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you, good luck with that project. The next matter, number 2 on the agenda is 41 Choate Avenue, DEP file number 14-1376. We've been notified that 41 Choate Ave has withdrawn its application, and we're going to take a vote on accepting the withdrawal to make it official. And does someone want to make a motion? I'm correct on that, right, Georgia?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
withdrawn? All right, does someone want to make a motion that we allow the applicant to withdraw?
So that's what the motion is, to accept the withdrawal?
Yeah, accept it. yeah.
Okay. I'll make the motion to accept the withdrawal of the notice of intent for 41 Choate Avenue, DEP file number 14-1376.
All right, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I second.
Oh,
All right, and I don't think there's going to be any comment on this, and there's no need for public hearing on this.
Out of curiosity, if we didn't accept this, what happens?
Nothing really, but
Nothing, we're
it's
just
really
making-
more,
We're making a record of it.
It
so
does.
there's
Yeah.
minutes,
it
so
doesn't
we know what
prevent
happened.
them from applying again, or
Gotcha.
Yeah.
anything,
Okay.
I see.
Did you second?
Yeah,
Somebody
me
second?
and
Yes.
Ann.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, and okay. All right, the next matter is number 3 on the agenda, and that is a notice of intent by 7 Savalia Avenue, DEP file number 14-1386. And they have requested to continue till 8/25. And do you know why that is, Georgia?
Yeah, so they're working on adding more technical details to their plans based on requests from the sewer district. So
And
they
they
need to
should be
show
ready on the
mudline
25th?
elevations and depths, and that's what they're working on.
And they should be ready for the 25th? you
Yes,
think?
yeah.
All right. Does someone want to make a motion to continue the public hearing for 7 Chevalier Ave?
I'll make a motion that we continue the notice of intent for 310 CMR 10.50 or 05 to be continued to the
DEP filing.
DEP file number 14-1386, continued to the 8/25/22 meeting.
Very good. Motion's been made. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so continued. Number 4, notice of intent for 34 Pickering Street, DEP file number 14-1387. Applicant, the Community YMCA of Danvers. And who's here for the applicant?
I'm Charlie Ware, I'm with Hancock Associates.
Okay. All right,
Comments.
well, some of us were at that site. Let's see, I was there. Peter, you were there?
That's correct, yeah.
And who else was there? Vanessa?
Yep.
Yeah. And
I'm recused.
for the record, Ann McGill is going to sit this one out. She's a neighbor of the YMCA, so it'll be just, any vote will be
Right.
Vanessa, myself, Chelsea, and Peter. All right, you may go. Anybody with, did you want to say anything introductory?
Yeah, maybe just a very quick history.
Speak up, please.
Sure, we filed this about, about a month and a half ago. We had an initial public hearing. At that time, it was discussed that we had 2 certificates of compliance we needed to close out. And at the last hearing, we were here, and this commission closed those 2 out. In investigating those 2 old orders for the COC, we found that there was an area directly behind the pool. This area right here, which was supposed to be regraded to accommodate some filling of the floodplain that occurred when this gymnasium was installed. So what we've done is we've incorporated that grading into this most recent order of, not order, I'm being presumptuous, but this, into this notice of intent
This was part of the
application.
earlier certificate of compliance.
That's
was
correct.
Granted, with the idea that it would be brought into this
Exactly.
project? Okay.
That's
Thank you.
correct. And we met last night. These are the same plans that were presented at the last meeting. There's nothing new here. In fact, with the exception of that regrading area, these are the same plans that were introduced at the initial hearing. There has, I guess, in the last 24 hours, Mass DEP did weigh in on this, and the issue they brought up was they noted that part of our infiltration system right here is within the floodplain. However, that is about 300 square feet. However, the performance standard for work in the floodplain is no loss in flood storage. And where the work that we're doing is below the surface, we're not changing the grade above. There's no loss in in the volume of the floodplain. So
What was the
therefore, we
point
meet
of
the
them
performance
pointing
standard.
that? What was the
Excuse me?
reason- What was the reason they pointed that out?
They're not incorrect. That's the limit of the floodplain right there. And part of our proposed infiltration basin is technically within that floodplain. They probably were just bringing it to the commission's attention, making sure that because if we were changing the grade in that area, then we would not be meeting the performance standard. However, we're not changing the grade.
This
So
is
therefore-
existing,
This is.
existing infiltration or so?
The infiltration's not existing, the infiltration is proposed.
Okay.
The limit of the floodplain in this area is where the floodplain is. The area of the floodplain is existing, the infiltration system is proposed.
And
But
again, why does it not matter?
Because the performance standard in the floodplain is strictly that there be no loss in the volume of flood. And because we're not changing the grade within the floodplain itself, then therefore there's no loss in the floodplain, and therefore we meet the performance standard. So that's why it doesn't matter.
When you say loss of floodplain, what
Yep.
do you actually mean by that?
Well, whenever you fill in a floodplain, you lose flood volume. We're not filling the floodplain, so therefore there's no loss in volume.
All right.
Can I ask a question about
Sure.
the chamber being located in the floodplain? So even if you're not reducing the area available for flood storage because you're not filling,
Yep,
if the area was flooded,
yep.
would that also flood the infiltration chamber, therefore rendering it over full or ineffective?
Not really. The purpose of the infiltration chamber is to infiltrate, not for the 100-year flood, which is, there'll be a large flood here on this occurrence. The infiltration chamber isn't set up to mitigate for anything that happens during the 100-year flood. What it's meant to do is to capture rainfall in the everyday, when you get a ½ inch, a 1 inch, 5 inch, 6 inches. A 100-year storm is 8 inches of rainfall. What the infiltration chamber is for is to help to do two things, is to help feed the groundwater. So in groundwater, recharge is not about recharging the 100-year storm. It's about recharging all the little storms that happen in between that 100-year event. And secondly, it provides for TSS removal, so that this would only be ineffective during that one day that there's a 100-year event.
So I think, yeah, because I know it's meant to catch the water from the roof from the downspout. So you're
That's
saying
correct.
if there was so much rain that it was flooded, the system would have already been beyond its capabilities regardless?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
well, and you have to look at what the system was designed for. It's not designed to mitigate for impacts in the 100-year storm. It's designed for all those smaller storms and providing infiltration to the groundwater for the smaller storms and providing for TSS removal during the smaller storms.
And what year storm is this designed for?
Well, it's interesting. It's not designed for any particular storm. It's designed for the purposes of infiltration. It's based upon a depth of impervious surface. So you take a depth of rainwater. In this case, these are C-type soils. So you would design it around a 1/4 of an inch per square foot of impervious surface that's going to it. For the TSS removal, it's actually, the number's a little bit bigger. You would design for a 1/2 an inch over that impervious surface. So what we did was we took, I explained at the last hearing, we have 2 new additions. What we're directing all of this roof, which now empties on the ground, and this roof. We're taking all of that, which is, there's about 1,600 square feet of new roof area, but we're capturing, I think it's 7,000 or 8,000 square feet of the old roof and directing that into it. So we're greatly, increasing the amount of infiltration and the TSS removal. Although the TSS removal, the roof water is relatively clean compared with the parking lot. But so that's. Anyways, I hope I answered your question. I
Yes.
get lost in this
Thank
stuff
you.
sometimes.
I just want to follow up with that.
Sure.
So the way this system performs, does it capture solids and does it hold them within the system?
Yep,
So, and those solids accumulate over time?
that's correct.
And then somebody has to scoop them out, or?
That's correct.
So if you got a huge storm, would that then cause the system to fail and all those solids would be released back out, or what?
No, the solids are actually, in this case, because it's rooftop, if this was collecting water from the parking lot, we would put on the front end, we would put probably a vortechnic unit or some other method of release, of removing, the solids that get into it before it went into the infiltration system. Now, the infiltration system over many years would still, if it was, especially if it was collecting parking lot, it would, some of those solids would get by the pre-treatment, would get in there. And that's why, in fact, this is in our filing, there is stormwater, the standard, and these are just right out of the stormwater handbook. What we do is we put in there's maintenance requirements that it gets inspected on a regular basis, and if it was to fail, then there's methods for, one of the ways is to flood the system to suspend the solids and pump it out. Another way is to replace the system. But that's, you know, in this case where we have just rooftop water going in there, this system should really last indefinitely. There shouldn't be, as long as they're still required to do the annual inspections.
Thank you. Any questions, Ann?
No, I'm.
Chelsea? Peter?
Yeah, a couple. I think at the site visit the other day, you mentioned that the roof runoff of the pool area just went onto the surface and it just was going to drain down the surface into the wetland. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then obviously that new, the P building addition, that's going to have
Yes.
the same, right?
That's correct.
Would it be possible to just have those downspouts discharge into the ground, just, you know, the crushed stone or some sort of arrangement there?
The issue would be that if we were to put them into the ground, what you really would need to do is to put in, if you just put them into the ground, they're just gonna come right back up again. The system, when you see a pipe go into the ground, it doesn't just go into the ground. It runs into
Or a dry well.
similar, dry well or an infiltration system. Could we introduce an infiltration system over there? The answer is yes, we could. However, looking at Mass DEP stormwater management standards, I believe we've met the spirit of the law in that we're infiltrating, much greater than what we are proposing. So to capture
Right.
the rooftop of the pool, you'd be introducing certainly it would not be a bad thing. However, you'd be introducing a significant cost into the construction of the project.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, that's
The next question is the bricks in front of the gazebo.
Yep,
There was some bricks missing there,
yeah,
and I see in the drawing here, it says maintain brick walkway
Yep.
grades.
yep,
Is that walkway going to be repaired as part of this project?
yes, that's correct.
Do you remember those bricks? They were washed out?
Yep,
Do you
yep,
remember
there
where
was-
we were?
Yeah, there was some bricks.
In a couple spots.
Yeah, there was a couple spots where they clearly had washed out, and that's why this says maintain brick walkway grades.
You need
is to-
some sort of lip or something to retain those.
Yeah, I think it's just, they've been there for 17, 18 years, so I think some of it is just, sometimes things need maintenance. So, but your point is taken,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, and then just refresh my memory, Charlie, please. One of the certificate of compliance that we approved the other day was that back corner of the pool where they were going to remove some fill
That's
in order
correct.
to make additional volume for the floodplain.
That's
What was
correct.
the other certificate of compliance that we?
It was actually for the gazebo and the bricks we were just talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
when
right, so
they
you better
when they
fix-
put that gazebo in the brick patios, they had an order of conditions for that as well.
Okay, all right, so that has to be done then. Okay,
Right.
good, that's all I have.
All right, and are there
Thank
any
you.
waivers requested in this?
There were no waivers.
No waivers. All right, and everybody's had their chance to ask questions.
I just have one
You
more
have a
thing to
follow-up? Go
add. Yes. Georgia, did we talk previously about possibly doing a performance bond on this? Because we had said there was like 2 times that the flood storage work wasn't done, and we gave them the COCs, and then we said, well, what if it doesn't get done this time? Had we talked about that?
I believe we did.
Okay, so if the rest of the commission feels similarly, I'm interested in the idea of a performance bond to make sure that the flood storage work is done on this
You can
third.
include that
attempt.
in your motion when you make it, but, do we have to, find out if there's any public comment here?
I don't believe there's any.
And, all right, and, do we need to make a motion to close the hearing?
What, do you guys want to discuss how much you would want
All right,
before you get to the motion? Or
Okay,
you can do
let's
it at
do
the
that.
motion.
And do you have a suggestion? Is it based on formula?
I mean, we usually base it on, landscaping costs or
Right.
project costs. I'm not familiar with, I would say maybe in the estimate from $5,000 to $7,000.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds fair, yeah.
So I'd leave it up to the commission, and of course, that check would be returned.
Yeah, or they can do a performance
They can buy a
bond to the,
bond.
they can
Yeah, they
buy
can
a
do an official
bond,
bond.
which
if
is
they want.
usually about 10% of the cost, and if it was 5 to 7, then that would be a $700.
7,000
Cost.
good for you?
Yeah, I feel like it's more of just, I'm even fine with 5,000. It's just a matter of like making sure it gets done, because,
Yeah,
and now that we've
Yeah.
closed the orders.
I will say, in my experience, if the commission recalls 200 Commonwealth Old Aquatic Center, across from the mall, we had
Yes.
put a bond on that it was minimal. That was about $2,000, and the applicant actually had trouble getting, the bond from his insurance company because it was so small and he was a commercial operation.
Yeah, to put
I would
cash.
suggest 7.
Okay,
7.
I think that's appropriate,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it's a good idea.
if the commission
We can
is,
go higher.
but I think
All right,
7
all right,
would.
let's not get
is-
too enthusiastic here.
All right. Do you want to make the motion for this?
do we have to close the public hearing
We,
first?
want to take a.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 34 Pickering Street, DEP file number 14-1387.
Motion's been made.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
so I'll make the motion that we issue an order of conditions for the notice of intent for 34 Pickering Street, 14-1387, with the condition of a $7,000 performance bond to ensure that the compensatory flood storage is constructed.
Motion's been made.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you.
greatly appreciate
you.
it, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
When's that going to start?
I think we still have to get things approved. I know they would like to start.
All right, the next matter will be 154 Water Street, DEP file number 14-1388, applicant Wind Development. And I see there's a request to continue. And the reason for the continuance?
So the reason for the continuance is actually on our end, the town's end. So the applicant has requested to continue while we work to hire a consultant. I have solicited with Mike DeRosa of DeRosa Environmental. So they are working to review the wetland line. It'll be a couple weeks for them to do that, write the review, and we'll schedule a site visit with the commission. So for now, continue to 8/25.
So we don't have an expert for peer review yet.
We do. We have Mike DeRosa.
Do,
Yeah.
but he
Uh,
won't have been able, but by the
Yeah, he's gotta go
25th,
out.
well, he won't.
Yeah, he's very busy. He said, I'm 2 weeks out before I can even get to any site visits, but we accepted his quote, signed the contract, and he'll try to get there as soon as he can.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, and that's 24-42 Cherry Hill Drive, applicant Abiy Ahmed, DEP file number 14-1389. And who's here for the applicant?
That is Danelle Baptiste, Shara, and some other members that I will be glad to introduce in a moment.
We see you.
Perfect.
All right,
Sorry.
Thank you, members of the board. I'm here with our team, Mike Hood, who is the representative of Abiy Ahmed, which is our client. We have Shara Lewis from JLL, who is the OPM of the project. We also have Daniel, I don't want to butcher your last name, I apologize, from GZA, who is our proficient wetland scientists. And you have myself, Danelle Baptiste, who's the civil engineer of record from High Point. Don't mind if the board would allow me to share my screen so I could probably commence the hearing.
You'd allow that? Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do that.
go ahead.
Great. So we're on here on behalf of an NOI on a project entitled Abbey Parking Lot Renovations. We submitted documents a few weeks ago and have provided Georgia some supplementary documents that don't affect the intent of this hearing here tonight, but we will mention it if the board allows us.
Yeah, go ahead.
So just, yep. So just a quick overview from a perspective, just to get oriented with the site. The site is, the property is located within a industrial 2-zone district. The property is bounded by Cherry Hill to the east. I'm going to put on my pointer just to make sure everyone is acclimated to location. To the east, we have, to the west, we have a conservation wetland area here. To the north, we have Beverly Hill Airport. And to the south, we have 22 Cherry Hill Drive, which is currently the headquarters of Abbey-O-Med. This is a site photos that I took during a recent site visit. I could orient, if you're familiar with the site, I could orient on a subsequent slide just to give you an idea of where we're looking at. Just for your convenience, I added a vantage point so you could see exactly where I'm taking my pictures from. So the first picture to the left is looking to the east. This is within the project development area that we are proposing to do parking modifications. This is looking to the east at dock number 1. This is looking to the north of said parking area. And this is looking to the west of said parking area, standing from the same location. As you can see, the parking existing, it is active. The building is accommodated by loading facilities that accommodate the use of Abbey-O-Med. Same vantage point, just turn in, I would say, counterclockwise, looking west down said parking area. We're looking west again, looking at the mulch area that was granted. So there was an existing mound here that the town granted us permission to do some preliminary construction, and we have seeded it with mulch as a temporary replacement.
Can I just interrupt you for a sec? 1 second. So on that,
Yep.
on that mound, was that something they worked with you on, Georgia?
Yeah, so that was a minor project permit.
So
because
that was, had to do with change in bylaws, which allowed an applicant to come in on what you would consider minor?
Exactly.
And you
yes.
felt that was minor?
Yes.
Okay, and what did they do?
It was a swap for, they removed the soil
hump,
mound of
yeah.
grass and replaced it with impervious coverage of wood chips.
All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So second vantage point, just looking across northeast and just looking at said mulch area and the same parking area that we were just discussing in the previous slide. So I'm going to start from right to left. So this is the existing footbridge that provides access to 22 Cherry Hill Drive and also 24-42 Cherry Hill Drive. Both accommodated by Abbey-O-Med, and the purpose of this bridge was to provide access to facilitate pedestrian movement to and from both parcels. Second picture to the left, vantage point number 3 looking east, is said bridge just at a different angle, showing the abutments and the infrastructure of the bridge, showing how it extends across the existing wetland resource area. As we move along to the left, vantage point number 2, we're looking at excuse my little indicator here. I dropped the ball on getting a picture, so I just pointed in the location of where we are proposing our new footbridge. The vegetation in that area is consistent with the vegetation that we see in the two previous images shown by my laser pointer. And just to give an indication of where we're located, two existing catch basins, and this is the area where we have a stone dust pass that I will talk more in a subsequent slide. So this is the project area, if you will. When we first started, my vantage point was in this location, just to give you some perspective on images. And we was looking eastward at loading dock number 1. The purpose of this slide is just to identify the existing flags that was flagged by GZA, and to give perspective on where the buffer zones lie relative to previously disturbed areas, which is, to be more specific, the existing driveway that I'm going to outline it with my laser pointer. This area here specifically is degraded or previously disturbed area. And I just want to note that this area, because there was a question during the site visit on what is going to happen to this area. And this area is going to be converted to green space during proposed condition. So we're actually improving or putting our proposed elements outside the 35-foot buffer zone. Our erosion control plan. I think the key points to this plan is pretty much to identify that we are in compliance with the regulations that is given to us in the zoning bylaw relative to color schemes. The erosion controls are brown as requested, and the 35-foot, 50, and 100-foot are as indicated on this plan. I just want to bring attention to that. The erosion control is laid out in a fashion to prevent construction debris and silt from entering the resource area. It covers the entire limit of where we are proposing to do construction. The intent of these siltation barriers is just to allow flow. It's not an impermeable barrier, but it's to allow flow but retard any solids and act more or less like a strainer, if you will. There are construction entrances with stone track pads to prevent debris from being tracked outside of the project as well. As you can see, it's the siltation barriers are located on both sides of where we are proposing our new footbridge to retard said siltation barriers as previously discussed. This is just a quick overview of what we are proposing from a layout standpoint. I won't spend too much time on this sheet, but we're providing parking. We have included landscape areas within this footprint. We have extended green area within the 35 no disturb. We have our proposed footbridge to the bottom left. Here is our existing footbridge to the right. Just want to bring your attention, the existing stone dust path was under a previous scope, and it actually terminates in this location. We are picking that up and bringing it across the back of the proposed parking area and flowing eastward to have a contiguous path for where the existing stone dust path terminated, which is right here, this location. We have an inset to the top right that I'm going to talk in more detail on the next slide. So here's a zoomed in version of our bridge, proposed bridge construction. To the left, we have a site layout with some descriptives and dimensions. To the right, we have a grading plan, and I'm going to go in order from left to right. The key point of this blow-up sketch is kind of to give you an idea of what the bridge abutment entails, and to kind of key in and emphasize that the bridge abutment, which is where I'm tracing now, it's a 8 by 22 foot bridge abutment. And within this abutment, this is where the infrastructure resides or rests on, if you will. It is to be noted that this superstructure is outside the limits of the wetland bank, which is depicted in green here. And from a performance standpoint, the bank full width, which is 13 feet, which is the most restrictive distance, this is the widest portion of the bank, is less than what we're providing. So essentially, we are exceeding 2 times the amount of the bank width. So we're proposing 21.9 feet from abutment to abutment. That's designated by this dimension here. And the bank full width is 13.3 times 2, which is 16. So we have a little chart here stating that we meet that performance standard. More features regarding the bridge. The bridge is a 30-foot long bridge. It's 6 foot clear meaning unobstructed. So that the bridge is, clear, it's ADA accessible. And on either side of the bridge, we have a detectable tape that I will show on a subsequent next slide, if time permits, and I could give you the specifics regarding the same. The point of this slide to the right is a grading sheet, and I just want to emphasize that we are not grading within the limits of the wetland resource area. We are trying to maintain existing grade as much as possible. If you could look at the grades, we're matching grades as close as possible. This is 67.86, and bottom of the footing is 67.80, which is 600s. So just want to emphasize to the commission that we are not grading within the resource area. This is the grading plan. I'm sorry, the drainage plan. I'm going to talk briefly about just the hydraulics and what the intent of the drainage system as it affects the board and the resource area. So based on mass DEP standards, there's 10 standards. And part of the standards is to provide TSS, total suspended solids, and water quality treatment, along with recharge. And this facility does all the above. We have installed 2 catch basins, 1 catch basin here and 1 catch basin over here. The treatment train is exactly the same. It's just going into 2 different subsurface contact units. So, pretty much the water will flow in this catch basin. We'll enter what's called a diversion manhole. The intent of this diversion manhole is to divert the flow into a isolator row that will provide treatment, excess flow beyond what this isolator row is designed, will bypass and go into the primary treatment system, where it will get additional water quality and provide recharge to rehydrate the underlying soils. Said stormwater will hit what's called an outlet control structure, which controls the flow out of the subsurface system and enter another manhole before entering a head wall proximate to the resource area. And I just want to bring attention that it's going to be, this is designed to go through a riprap apron, which will provide a reduction in velocity and reduce the effects of scouring and erosion prior to entering the resource. This plan is set up so it's staggered, where certain features and buffer zone and jurisdictional buffer zones are highlighted. For example, we have the 35-foot no-touch zone. We have the 50-foot no-build and the 100-foot buffer zone, jurisdictional buffer zone. This area was flagged by GZA, and I'm going to hand it over to him to go to specifics on flagging, how it was delineated, and provide some more feedback relative to a delineation standpoint. Dan, are you there?
Actually, Anthony Damiano
Oh, I'm sorry.
representing GZA tonight.
Okay.
But I was the delineator on site. I did the entire site, including what's up into that top left portion there that's outside of our limit of work. But I was on site to conduct the delineation, and specifically where our work is down along this drainage feature that Danelle's been referencing in green is our main focus this evening. The flagging, I know there's a question about spacing there. It's typical for GZA practice to hang a flag every 40 to 60 feet, and especially when there's for the most part a straight feature, then we'll end up hanging flags in this type of spacing. And as Danelle mentioned, the bank full width. I don't know if there's any other questions about that in a bit, but all of that was well described. I don't have anything to add there. And as far as the work area goes, Danelle covered for the most part where we're working. Within the buffer, that's unavoidable in this case, where we're putting our work area is within these buffers, looking to make improvements to that buffer zone, as well as installing this bridge over the resource area, but again, not within that resource area besides the buffer zone. That's all I have to add, unless there's other questions, but I'll turn it back to Danelle to wrap up.
I think the
Everybody's got
board
left.
was satisfied with the flagging when we walked it. I'll just say that.
They were, or sorry,
Did
cut us
you
the
have
first.
any issues with the flagging?
I wasn't there.
Oh,
I missed this one.
it's just Peter and I. Peter, did you?
Nope, we'll
No, I
trust the
didn't either.
professionals.
Yeah. I just was concerned with the spacing, but then we were able to find the flags. I mean, there was a lot of growth, but they were there.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm sure it's grown even more since I was out there.
Do I have permission from the board to continue?
Yep. Go ahead.
Perfect. So just to provide more transparency and to get a better presentation of what's going on relative to disturbances, this plan was set up to identify disturbances, temporary disturbances, and it's set up in a color code fashion. And I'm going to be flipping from the next sheet and coming back to this sheet. That way you can see the numbers, and I could go in a little detail, and we could go from there. So if you could bring your attention to this kind of color code fashion, I think it was done for the end user to easily read and understand what's going on here. I'm going to start with the red. So based on our local conservation wetland bylaw, we are only allowed 10% of the total area. Disturbance within the 35 foot, we're only allowed 10%. And as you can see, the 10% is what's allowed. We are proposing 8,900, which is 8.7%. So we're in compliance. Separate regulation is for disturbances within the 50 foot, and the totals are 141,000. 20% of said number is 28,350. And as you can see, we're proposing 17,000. So, obviously we're under 20%, and hence we meet that threshold here. I'm gonna jump back to the previous plan, just so
Can
you
I
can
just
see.
Can I stop you for a second on your chart?
Sure, sure.
On page 2, it says
Sure.
allowable disturbance, 28,350 square feet. And then it says.
Yes,
Proposed disturbance, 25,230 square feet. So you,
is that?
You have the
is
old
that- is that-
memo, Mike.
I think you're looking at the wrong one.
is that the wrong one?
That's the old one.
17,000.
Okay, so was this just wrong?
No, they updated it after discussion with staff.
I'm sorry?
I think Danelle will probably get into it, but they had mistakenly included temporary alterations
Oh,
in their
I
calculations,
was
so.
wondering why that number was so high.
And I was too, and then I worked with the team and said, I think you included temporary alterations, so
Okay.
now it just, this
Clears
is,
that up.
yep,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's correct. Thanks, Georgia, for
Yeah.
putting some clarity on that. Just like Georgia said, what's in white, and I have a footnote here, the shaded areas in the 35-foot and 50-foot depict permanent disturbances. And these areas not shown in the buffer zone are considered temporary. So anything in white, we are doing work in there, but it's green area. It's not anything permanent. So I was double counting that, and Georgia brought to my attention that, you don't have to include this in your calculations. Hence why we sent supplementary documents that were accurate based on the local town wetland protection bylaw. Just want to bring to your attention, so in the calculations here, you have a 315 square foot temporary disturbance. It's not mentioned, it's not highlighted rather. So pretty much that disturbance is any disturbance within the limits of the bridge and the LOW limit of work, that is going to be within the resource area to facilitate the construction of the bridge. We don't anticipate ripping up any vegetation within this area, but it's allotted within our calculations that if anything is disturbed, we'll replace it with native materials, conservation mix, and report that to the Conservation Commission if needed. Just wanted that to be clear. Also, in our calculations here, there's a provision that allows 10% or 50 feet of alterations within the bank, linear feet wise. We are actually disturbing less than 50 feet. So from a performance standpoint, we are all set on that as well. Just want to bring that to attention to the board.
With that 50-foot number, are you talking 50
Well,
square?
on behalf of Abiomed, this concludes our presentation on the notice of intent application for the parking lot. I do want to mention this. I didn't mention this in the beginning. The whole intent of this project is to seek order of condition. As part of that order of condition, we submitted a waiver for disturbance within the 35-foot buffer zone and work within the 50-foot that was submitted as part of the original NOI package. So we're asking the board to kindly review that and allow us to work within limits that is not allowed by the town. Thank you.
Just back up a minute. When you were talking about the 50-foot, the allowable 50-foot area of disturbance, were you talking 50 square feet, or what were you referring to?
The 50-foot, no build.
Oh, within the
There's
50, okay.
Right, and we have a permanent structure within that area.
All right, fine, thank you.
No problem. So if the board would allow me to, open it up for questions.
Yeah,
Us, the team, Shara, and whoever's here would be more than glad to answer your questions.
all right. I'll start with Vanessa.
Can we talk about the landscape restoration plan? I'm not sure I saw much of that, or I'd like to hear some more about what intended plantings are going in what areas.
So Are you talking about the landscape plan?
Yes.
Okay, I can't watch, I'm getting dizzy.
So I don't have, I'll be honest with you, this is not my level of expertise is landscaping. Our landscape expert is not here with us.
But I can
So-
speak a little bit to what we're
Thank you,
doing.
Shara.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I won't have control of the mouse, but you can see that in the planting beds to the far left and the far right of the stone dust path, and yep, there, and at the other end, we've got some trees, some other trees. I can open the chart on another page if we need to. They've been selected. We have the actual in the package you have. That was submitted. It actually lists the trees. The updated package lists the specific tree species. They'll be probably in the from the stone dust path down south on the page. That will be a grass mix, like suitable for. We'll use GZA's advice for the mix that's good for a bank of a drainage area, a wetland bank. I don't know if Anthony wants to chime in on that. And then in the other 3 islands, or they're sort of up at the top in the middle of the parking lot, we've got a couple of trees, but really they're just beds that are prepped for planting, but not planted. So they'll be prepped and mulched, but we'll have some trees and shrubs. And while Anthony's maybe talking about the seed mix, I'll just open up my diagram so that I can tell you exactly what trees, if you want to know the actual tree species, I'll be able to speak to that in a moment.
Yeah, typical seed mix that we'd recommend, depending on the area. I mean, if it's above that bank line and it would be in upland areas, it'd be a conservation mix. There's a few main vendors that we would recommend getting that from, that would have a variety of seed with native species. We consult the data that I took on what is already in the area, and supplement with other native species. And of course, anything below the wetland line, we don't anticipate impact there, but that would be a wetland seed mix with the same type of structure. We reference that what was in the field and supplement with other native species, and guide with the appropriate amount of seeding rate.
And I can pull up on the screen if you want me to share. I do have what is the percentage seed mix and actually the species of trees, if you want me to bring that up on screen, or I can just.
Before you do that, could you identify, there should be a row of red maples, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Mr. Chair, I have, could I just interrupt for a second?
Sure.
So I'm seeing that the plan I have in front of me, it's a landscaping plan that was submitted with the supplemental materials, is missing all the, so the plan you have on the screen right now is missing the trees shown in the plan if you go back one page.
Yes,
It's showing-
Abiomed
yeah.
had opted to, between the time we submitted and now, Abiomed had wanted to eliminate some of the trees along that path.
It looks
They're
like
not
okay.
existing trees. They were newly proposed trees and so Abiomed wanted to take out some of the trees, so we've shown them removed. But as I said, they're not existing trees. They were newly proposed. But if the commission has a certain quantity of trees that you need to see, we would be certainly open to hearing what is required.
Well, I would
or
just
desired.
note, so the landscaping plan is definitely a lot different than it's definitely substantially changed. So I do see that it's not you're removing trees, but what was going to be added is no longer. And same with the landscape islands. It just looked like there was like almost 140 grasses proposed on the site, and now they look pretty bare. So that would just be my comment to the commission. If they wanted to require landscaping, I'm not sure the reasoning for the shift from the first plan to the second and why that landscaping
What is the
couldn't be
reason?
Mike
provided.
Hood, do you want to speak to that? Are you able to unmute? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Mike Good, facility manager at Abumet. They weren't dead set against it in the trees. They were just trying to keep more visibility between the buildings. So that was the only concern. They have no issues at all putting the trees in if it's required.
So,
We like the trees.
well,
it
can
just-
can I just clarify, so, is this a plan that we haven't seen? Like, this plan that is up right now is one that hasn't been submitted to us?
Yeah, so I was provided a supplemental plan that added change from the impervious surface from when I said, hey, your permanent alterations and your temporary alterations. So I am now just, had I reviewed that whole plan, but the landscaping plan has changed. It wasn't explicitly announced and discussed. But there's no project change to the proposed amount of pervious coverage.
Gotcha.
But as I had noted, there is a note on the plan that recommends, I think it's 25 pounds of fertilizer for 1,000 square feet of grass. So it looks just like a lot more grass is now proposed. So that's where the concern lies for.
And we don't want fertilizer.
No. And I actually
No.
have a clarifying question too. I think it was Shara that said there was gonna be a grass mix, and then, I'm sorry, the person that spoke after that from GZA, I forgot your name, sorry. You said it was gonna be a conservation mix, so I'm just wondering if is it a grass mix, or is it, what is the conservation mix? What are the species that are in it?
I can
Yeah.
speak to that, what we have, I can speak to what's on the plan, and then we certainly can change it to a different mix if required. It's a Festuca rubra, creeping red fescue, 37%, 95% purity. Pau prasentis, barren Kentucky bluegrass, 40%, 85% purity. And Palmer perennial ryegrass, I can give you the Latin name if you'd like. That's 15% by weight, 95% purity, and a Wilma chewings, Festuca rubra, commutata Wilma, 8% with 95%. I'm not the landscape designer. There's another member of High Point's team, and I'm sorry they're not here, but it is seed to be spread at a minimum rate of 5 pounds per thousand. And we do have a note here about, on the plan about seed fertilizer, but again, we're happy to change that to a different mix.
We're looking for some type of plantings that don't require fertilizer.
Or
Yes.
love mowing.
Okay, we
Yeah, and I
can
would say-
make that change.
And also adding to that, did sound, the ones that I could pick out all sounded like grass species, so if those are intended for like routine mowings, I'm pretty sure we don't want that going right at the top of this bank either, so.
Okay.
Yeah. I think-
This is Mike Good. Can I have permission to speak?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're concerned about the grass and feed, we'll absolutely put the trees back in to reduce the amount of greenery.
And could they resubmit on their plan, suggestions on what type of plants they would use that would eliminate the need for fertilizer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are they gonna have to like resubmit an entire landscaping plan? Because this is a pretty big difference.
Yeah, so if the commission is satisfied with the work, the alteration work, they could approve it and then wait on the
Subject to,
updated
yeah.
landscaping plan and provide that, have them come back, or you continue the hearing until there's a
Well,
landscape
could they
plan.
review it with you, Georgia?
Or have staff review.
Because you know what we're looking for here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would the commission want that in place of the areas that are shown grass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And you know where I'm going to ask you, because you had the minor that you approved, where the mulch is that going to be something else?
It's gonna be parking.
Yeah, but the the mound.
No, that's all gonna be great.
What's
That whole
going
area is
in
gonna
there?
be stripped of everything, and I'm sure paved, and that they do have landscaping islands proposed, those 3 islands up there proposed, but like they had mentioned, the Abumet decided not to add as much landscaping on them. But if the
And you
commission
can
would like to see
see on
that.
sorry to speak up, but you can see the outline of the mound. That is, it's just as a faint line. That's the outline of the mulched
Oh, I see it
area,
now.
which
Yeah.
is now paved area, but we've increased the planted area to the bottom of the parking area here.
So but you get where we're going. We don't want to see lawn that you'll be mowing. We don't want to see fertilizer, and we want the trees back. Hello?
Fair enough.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's-
No, fair enough. We will work in concert with Georgia if the commission allows us to, and then we could provide a new or supplementary landscape plan that meets the town's requirements.
Particularly important on a bank because grass doesn't have very deep roots. You're gonna want plants that have like good, deep tap roots and stuff that'll actually stabilize the embankment.
Okay, so let's get back to, are you done with your questions, Vanessa? Did you have further questions?
I think I'm good for now.
How about you, Ann?
I had a question about the bridge. Are you constructing the bridge on site, or are you bringing in a bridge that has been built elsewhere?
I can comment on that. This is Shara again. The bridge is just like the last bridge, the one that's there now. This is being constructed in California by XL Bridge and brought in two pieces, and then it gets assembled on site, and then the concrete gets poured on site, the concrete deck.
Okay, good, thank you. The intermittent stream, where is that located?
That's where the bridge spans.
The bridge stands and it's down below there? Okay.
It's between the two green wetland lines. The two green lines is where it runs inside there.
Okay. And how will the stream be maintained?
So during construction, the stream is gonna have erosion control measures put in place.
Okay.
Obstruction to the stream and its channel and intent of said stream won't be hindered or altered. So if it was flowing as it is in the existing condition, that will be maintained during construction.
Okay.
It wouldn't be obstructed or prevent the flow.
Okay.
If that answers your question, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, I don't see snow storage shown anywhere on the plan. Where do they plan to store snow so that it melts?
That's a good question. We'll coordinate with Mike. You want to address snow storage?
Yep. Yeah, what we've been doing the past couple of years with the growth and everything, we've been actually hauling snow off-site.
Good, that's good to hear. Just we don't want to have snow placed on top of this reclaimed area and just having surface runoff into the wetland area. So that
Yep.
Okay, that's good. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but we need to vote on waivers on this, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, are there more questions?
I do just want to note, sorry, Peter, to your point, so the new plan provided does say the whole grassed area is going to be snow storage. So I would either suggest the commission have that note eliminated from the plan or condition that all snow is not stored there and
Removed
it's
from the
removed
site.
off-site.
Okay, good. Thank you, Georgia. That's a good catch. I'm all set, Mike, if you're waiting
You're
for
all
me.
set? Anyone else?
Yeah.
All right, well, I don't think I had, well, was the question answered? Is that a prefab bridge that's coming over?
It's coming over.
It was
It's
answered?
gonna, yeah, it's gonna be
It
built.
comes in
California.
two
Okay,
pieces.
very good.
Yes.
I have no questions, no further questions. So, any public comment?
Nope, and we don't have any online.
All right, and then I think we should move to close the hearing.
Mike, before we do that,
Yes, Peter.
do we have consent? do we have consensus on what Abiamed is going to do with revised drawings to show that it's not a grassy area and that it's more natural, non-maintained type landscaping?
Could I answer that?
Yes.
Can I jump in? Sure. So we could provide a revised plan mid-next week at the latest with all your comments, provided that we have communication with Georgia, just to make sure we're on the same page. We could turn that around less than a week, if the board allows us.
Are you saying you want a vote today, or are you saying you want to continue till you do that?
Well, we're hoping for a conditional,
right.
provided we provide that.
All right, just want to clarify that. Fine.
I
A
personally would
vote
rather
today
see
would
the
be
plan.
great if possible.
Yeah, if we could get a vote sorry for interrupting.
Well, there'll be a-
And we
there'll
could
be a
have
lot
that
of
included in
conditions.
the, sorry.
Go ahead, Danelle, sorry.
I'm in favor with a
It's,
vote today.
Yeah,
Let him
if we could
finish.
have a vote and put that in the conditional approval, I think the applicant would be very grateful of that.
I mean, they've been here 40 years.
Yeah,
They're not going anywhere.
and they've done one of these bridges before. I just want to
And
make
they
sure
did
the
bridge,
landscaping
yeah,
gets
yeah,
done
well,
properly. that we
Yeah, I
don't
think
go in
we've
the
made
bank.
that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
I personally feel like I would rather continue and look at the plan in more detail, but that's my opinion.
Well, you can make a motion and see if it passes.
Well, I would support her.
I would also note, as noted in here and with the last project, the commission has been requiring performance guarantees.
Right.
So if the board were to, not in addressing member Curran's concern about the continuance, but just noting that if the board were to entertain that,
Would entertain,
adding a performance guarantee to this project for this landscaping as well,
all right.
as they have been.
All right, well, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
It's a separate point.
I'm just
from what
suggesting
I
that the
was-
commission should require a performance bond if they approve
Oh,
the
a bond.
project tonight.
I thought you
Yeah.
said, I was,
Sorry.
you were saying standards, and I'm saying, well, we have standards.
Yeah.
Guarantee is a polite way to put it.
Sorry about that.
All right. All right,
All right,
you
so
want to make a motion to continue the hearing?
I will. I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for the notice of intent for 24-42 Cherry Hill Drive, DEP file number 14-1389.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I second that emotion.
Second?
We'll take a vote.
Aye.
I vote to go forward today.
So you're nay on her motion.
I'm a nay on her motion, yes.
Yes, one nay.
So I'm a yay.
Yay.
You're a
Yay.
yay to
Yeah.
continue?
Yeah, I'd like
Yes.
to see an actual
Motion
plan. This
passes.
seems
All
like a
right.
pretty big
Peter?
departure.
I am with Vanessa. I'd like to see a revised drawing.
All right, your motion carried.
Okay.
So we're going to have to continue this until you submit your revised plan.
Fair enough.
It's the way it works.
And just, Mike, just one
Yeah.
other thing, just, we talked about, a bond to kind of guarantee that the work is, so I think between now and the next meeting, we should have a dollar figure as to what
Well,
that
all
bond
right,
should
but
be.
But we've continued this now, so we're going to have to address that on the next date.
So we did motion to continue to 8:25.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you'll be the chair again, Peter.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll work with Danelle and his team either tomorrow or early next week on the
All
new
right,
plan.
well, is that, so the applicant understands the matter's been continued by motion of the board, because we wanted to see, the new plans before we actually vote on your notice of intent.
Yep, understood.
Okay. It won't be that long.
No,
No, it's
All
just
right.
landscaping plan, correct?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we already have the plan anyways, it's just a matter of resubmitting them.
Okay.
Well, we'll be tweaking them to
We'll be tweaking them,
address the fertilizer,
and
trees, and the seed mix.
But you just
Conservation
understand
mix.
you understand what we're looking for, right? We don't want grass, we don't want fertilizer, and we don't want it to need to be maintained.
We'll
Absolutely.
probably meet with Georgia and review it with her
Correct.
sometime later next week to make sure we've addressed all your concerns in the new plans.
Good.
Okay, cool.
All right,
Thank you.
that's the,
Thank
that
you.
closes up the agenda unless we have some new business.
Or old business?
Old business? You have old business?
No, I don't have any.
All right, someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion's been made to
Second.
adjourn, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
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 See the
Good
power
night.
of emotion?
Thank you.
Emotion.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, Peter.
Bye, Peter.
Bye, Peter.
Bye, Peter.